I've just come back from my morning 3-mile run, and so I'm a little bit red in the face, so I apologize for that. But today, what I'm sharing is this amazing message we have in the Gospels and in St. Paul's writings. Finding treasure, a treasure which is hidden in us and in all creation. Jesus gives us that lovely parable saying the kingdom of heaven is like this, a field where treasure is hidden. And somebody, he sells everything he has so he can own and inhabit this field where the treasure is. It's just a lovely picture of what this kingdom, this dimension of heaven is, that it's like a treasure. It's something which is tangible. It's not an idea, this idea of heaven. It's not a concept. It's something which you can touch and you can value and you can hold. It's like treasure. Treasure which is hidden and it's in the field. I'm always really encouraged when I hear this story. It just kind of does something to me inside, because it reminds me, it triggers something in me that this treasure, it's in me. It's hidden in me. It may be seemingly covered over by lots and lots of stuff, the content of my life, but it's there and it's real. St. Paul in Romans chapter 8 is a lovely chapter of describing this treasure, and he describes it like the Spirit that is in us. And St. Paul tells us that this Spirit is continually praying in us, like the sea waves crashing upon the seashores, just continually, perpetually, a perpetual motion of the Spirit praying, blessing us, calling out Abba, Father, in us, over and over again, like a recurring melody which is so deep and sonorous and beautiful. But it's forever happening, always happening. Treasure in us. And then St. Paul concludes that wonderful chapter 8, with that lovely song of nothing can separate us from the love of Jesus. Nothing can separate us from this treasure which is forever in us. So this treasure doesn't just turn up when we get things right, or when we say the right words, or when we're on message. The treasure is always there. It's there when I'm lazy. It's there when I'm impatient. It's there when I just get things so wrong. It's there when I'm completely off message. It's there always. And I don't have to wake this treasure up. I don't have to nudge it into existence, because it's always there, no matter what. Nothing can separate us from it. It is a given, and it's given to everybody and into all of creation. So this is what Jesus says. This is what the kingdom of heaven is like. This is what the dimension of God's life is really about. This is God's normal. I heard the other day an interview with Ed Stafford, who's an endurance specialist. He kind of does these mountain hikes or mountain runs in crazy conditions, carrying crazy weights, crazy stuff. And Ed Stafford, before one of his trials, he spent some time with the Aboriginal tribes, and he learned from them where they get their strength from. And they taught him that they have 3 brains. They have a brain of the gut, of the food they eat. That's their primary brain. Then their secondary brain is a brain of the heart, which is what they see and what they hear and the use of their senses in this present moment. And their third brain is their brain of the head, That's their third brain. That's the brain they use least. They use that for problem solving. They kind of picture that as a mangled fishing net, which they'll use just from time to time. Now us, in our consumer culture, in our pseudo-intellectual culture, we're forever in our head brain. We kind of think that's normal. But actually, in God's normal I think is closer to the Aboriginal way, where the heart brain and the gut brain take much more precedence. That's what we've got to learn and relearn. And we do that by carrying with us a really lovely stillness where we have gaps between our thinking. When we prolong those gaps and we just inhabit this dimension of presence, which is God's Spirit forever singing songs in us. We inhabit this presence of no thinking, and we're always blessed by it, we're always energized by it, but we make it much more a habit of our lives. So that becomes our normal. The kingdom of heaven, God's dimension, a dimension of spaciousness, of breadth, of height, of depth, and of love, just becomes our normal.